Warning, the following video is a review of a Mortal Kombat game. So, as you'd expect, the footage used in this review features many gruesome fatalities, which are, but not limited to, decapitations, lacerations, arrows going through eye sockets, faces melting off, faces sliced clean in half, and a woman will punch your ballsack so hard it will explode. If you are of a nervous disposition, or if you are young enough to not know what this object is, please stop watching this video right now, for it will give you nightmares. For the rest of us... Fight! NetherRealm Studios are back, ladies and gentlemen. With two excellent fighters already under their belt, they're hitting back hard with Mortal Kombat X, the series' first foray into this generation of consoles. So, let's see if these guys are able to pull off a hat trick. Now, before I start this review, know that I'm not as familiar with this franchise as much as I think I should be. The original Mortal Kombat hit home consoles in 1992, and at the time I was... 1. Yeah, the 16-bit Mortal Kombat games were a bit before my time. I started getting into fighting games once Tekken 3 came out in '98, and I haven't really strayed from Tekken ever since. But in 2011, NetherRealm Studios developed a sequel/reboot for Mortal Kombat in the form of Mortal Kombat. And it was one of the best fighting games I'd ever played. With a huge roster, a ridiculous amount of content included on the disc, and a surprisingly good story mode, something I'd never seen before in a fighter. I loved this game. It converted me to a Mortal Kombat fan, and it got me excited to see what NetherRealm will do next. So now we got Mortal Kombat X, and the story mode makes a return, which I have mad respect for. NetherRealm could have easily just not bothered. But then again, the story here, whilst okay, I won't call spectacular. It takes place 20 years after the events of the last game and introduces a new villain in the form of Shinnok. What you basically need to know is the story revolves around a MacGuffin, an amulet which I guess gives Shinnok great power, but for some reason he can also be imprisoned by it. Yeah, the story doesn't waste any time explaining anything. I kept asking myself questions throughout the campaign that were never answered, like how come Quan Chi has all these fighters under his control? Why is Scorpion suddenly a good guy? How did Melina come into possession of the amulet? What the hell is this thing? Okay, I know someone in the comments section is now going to explain all this to me. Just know that the game itself could have explained things a lot better. What we instead get more of though is actually something pretty cool. The story's full to the brim with fun and interesting characters who deliver some pretty entertaining banter. Cassie is delightfully spunky, Kung Jin has a heart of gold, Raiden's an absolute badass, and Johnny Cage, man, when he's on screen, he just steals the show.
Gonna test you, Jin. Gonna give me an A++, or be flat on your ASS.
Round 1, fight!
What blows though is that the story mode is only about 4 to 5 hours long, and there's far too many characters the game has to go through before any of them can really be developed enough. New characters like Devora and Aaron Black are really welcome additions. It's just a shame that we don't get to know much about them outside of their character bios. About the most character development we do get is with 4 new characters, Cassie, Takeda, Kunjin and Jackie, who are all offspring of other Mortal Kombat characters. And given the length of the campaign, I think NetherRealm did about as best as they could do with them. Putting such a big emphasis on unknown characters was a big risk, but thankfully all 4 of these guys are a lot of fun and quite likeable.
My great-whatever grandfather took down Shang Tsung, saved Earthrealm. How often do you think that comes up at family gatherings?
That was 600 years ago.
And yet, you'd think it happened yesterday.
No pressure there.
They all get their time to shine as some flashbacks give them some development. But again, had the story been longer, more could have been done with them. Actually, I know this may sound unpopular, but what would have helped Mortal Kombat X's story would be for it to focus a little more by having it have a single protagonist. And that person should have been Cassie, as there's a bit of a subplot regarding the relationship of the Cage family, and it's also her you fight the final boss of the game with. Granted, if you focus more on just one character, then a lot of other characters would have missed out on screen time, but it would have made for a stronger narrative. It's kinda like how, to appeal to fans, the 1995 Street Fighter movie put like every goddamn character the game's had in the film, but as a result, the movie suffered for it. Movies, after all, are only about 2 hours long, but a video game can be as long as it wants, so if it wants to feature a billion different characters, all the game has to do is extend its runtime to accommodate. But 2 hours worth of cutscenes isn't enough for this many characters. The story really should have been twice as long. I know that may seem like a big ask, but if a game like Skyrim can take hundreds of hours to beat, I'm sure as hell NetherRealm could have managed a 10-hour campaign if they put their minds to it. So that said, let's now talk about the ending. Don't worry, I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything. But I would say that the game does wrap things up pretty abruptly, with even some plot threads left hanging, mostly concerning how certain characters are still under the control of Quan Chi, despite him, well, if you played the game, you'll know what I'm on about. Now, the game also seems to sequel bit at the end too, but that confused me. The last Mortal Kombat game came out 4 years ago. So if we're going by that same release schedule, are we to assume Mortal Kombat 11 will come out in 2019? I think by then I'll have forgotten what happened here. Okay, quick side note, there's talks of there being future DLC for this game which might continue the story. But if they charge us for that, if it's going to cost us money to see the whole story, I'm going to be pissed. That'll be a real dick move. That being said, I think I may be making the story out worse than it actually is. It really isn't bad, considering its brevity. All the characters, both new and old, all have plenty of personality, and a lack of personality is what I scolded my last 2 reviewed games for. And I really can't be too mad over the story mode not being amazing, because it's a fighting game and not many have them at all. And the fact that the story was better than a lot of games that put a major focus on a narrative means I can't be too mad about it, despite the fact that Mortal Kombat 9's story mode was by far a superior campaign. So yeah, in conclusion, the story mode is a step back, but it's more than serviceable. Now, as far as gameplay goes in the story mode, you take control of 11 characters over the course of it, where you fight about 3 to 4 battles as each one. Which is all fine and well, though if you're a Mortal Kombat noob like me, then expect to pay a visit to the command list screen. A lot. In fact, something I wish I had known going into the story mode is that you can actually highlight about 5 different moves to be displayed on screen as you fight. This comes in super handy, and as a welcome feature I like to see other fighting games adopt. Now, the story mode also chooses to incorporate the QuickTime event, which is a bit of a puzzling design choice. These QTEs do feel really tacked on. But then again, I wasn't as bothered by them as much as I thought, because they don't last too long, plus they're really easy. But next time, NetherRealm, don't bother with them, just let us watch the cutscene. The story mode aside, it's the fighting we're all here for, and I'm pleased to report, it's better than ever here. Mortal Kombat X is an easy fighter to get into, but it's very difficult to master, which is what I think all fighting games should be. There's 24 fighters to choose from, 25 if you include the pre-order bonus character Goro, and all of them have 3 different fighting variations to choose from, which grant them different moves and abilities they can use. And you can easily lose hours in this game in the practice mode alone, just experimenting with all the different fighters and all the moves they can use, trying out specials, practicing blocking, and seeing the max amount of damage you can do with an air juggle combo. Now, when fighting for real, I immediately noticed how fast-paced this fighter is. It demands the reflexes of a cat in the higher difficulties. Actually, out of curiosity, I tried out the hardest setting in practice mode. And, yeah. I found that it was at the game's default medium setting that I felt matched my skill level best, but now I have this drive to just keep getting better and better at the game. I found that characters like Kung Jin and Reptile are who I'm best at, and I'm going to practice all I can with them so I can actually win some matches online.
Kung Jin wins.
Now the game is rich with modes you can try out. There's your classic tower, an endurance one, and a mode called Test Your Luck, which incorporates different fighting parameters such as fire fists, missiles raining from the sky, and other odd inclusions. Though I think I will be staying clear from this mode from now on, as sometimes there's this weird topsy-turvy earth effect placed on screen, and it made me feel quite nauseous.
Test your might.
There's also a tower called Test Your Might, where you break a series of boards by mashing buttons. Though am I the only one who couldn't break the last one? Does the PS4 have turbo controllers available yet? But that aside, it won't be Mortal Kombat without the violence, as Mortal Kombat X carries over a feature from the 2011 iteration which I really liked. You see, you have a meter at the bottom of the screen which changes up over time, and with it you can do various things. You can perform a special move, and if you hold down R2 it transforms it into a more powerful version. You can also use R2 again to break an enemy's combo if you find yourself in a tough situation, but if you have a full bar you can pull off a devastating X-ray attack. And these are as satisfying as they are brutal. And then you got the fatalities, and if you're a lover of gore, I think you'll be satisfied.
Here's Johnny.
How about that?
Johnny Cage wins. Fatality.
To think of all those people who are against Mortal Kombat's violence in the Genesis days. Can you imagine their reaction if they saw what Mortal Kombat looks like today? Bloody hell. I mean, graphically, this game is stunning. Outside of a few not so great character models, Mortal Kombat X looks like a PS4 game, with great textures, weather effects, and very cool lighting. Now yeah, the game isn't the best looking game ever, but it is a very noticeable upgrade from Mortal Kombat 9.
Such beauty, like gazing upon the elder gods themselves.
So I've seen to praise the hell out of this game so far, but I have to mention this. There are a few things that irk me. For starters, the game unfortunately has microtransactions. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I firmly believe that it is wrong to charge players for additional content after they've already given you $60 for your game. But what makes it worse here is what they have for sale. There's actually an option to buy easy command inputs for fatalities. Yeah, they're essentially charging for cheats. That's a new low for console gaming. I mean, I know this is something that's easily avoidable and optional, but the fact that it's there, that they actually will make money from this, is pretty saddening. There's also an option to buy all the game's unlockables, which is also really dumb. Why would anyone do that? The whole earning coins thing to buy unlockables in the crypt here is really cool. It gives you further incentive to keep playing. It actually reminds me of a joke the Angry Video Game Nerd did once with the beat a game button.
Yeah, all you do, if you're playing a really hard game, you just push the button and the game's beat.
The joke being that, yeah, you could take a shortcut to beating a game, but if you don't do it for real, well, what's the point? Well, here, NetherRealm have incorporated that beat a game button in the Mortal Kombat X, and for the low price of half the game's retail cost, Mortal Kombat X is beat. To everyone watching this video, join me now as we all collectively palm our own faces. Then there's costumes and extra characters to buy too, but again, this should all be free. Or at the very least more affordable. Here in the UK, the Season Pass pack costs £25. That's how much the fucking game itself should sell for. And if for some insane reason you think I'm full of shit on this one, let me just give you an example of how it should be done. Take Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which is my go-to fighter right now. Now there was actually 3 updates for this game, which together gave us 10 new fighters, yes, 10, a crap ton of new outfits, and 5 extra stages too. And how much did this all cost?
Absolutely nothing!
Yeah. And that's not to mention that the last Mortal Kombat game outsold Tekken Tag Tournament 2 2-1. There's no excuse. Charging players for this content is greedy. End of story. Now the other thing that irks me is the online play, which, don't get me wrong, is pretty good. There's plenty of options here with lobbies to hang out in and such. There's also a cool mechanic where you choose one of 5 factions to join, and if your clan performs the best, you can reap some rewards. There's also something called Living Towers, where you can undertake various challenges provided from online, which means a steady stream of new things to do. But my issue concerns online performance. You see, when fighting battles online, waiting for new ones can take quite a while. Finally! Alright, okay, finally, let's go kick this guy's ass.
Round 1. Fight!
Yeah! It crashed. Okay, I gotta mention this. I've actually never played an online fighter before, but even then I realised that connection issues are gonna be a problem from time to time. I don't know how Mortal Kombat X's online performance compares to other fighters. It could be the most stable of all online fighters of all time for all I know, but that doesn't change the occasionally laggy performance, which in a fighting game, it's really bad. The lag in some matches render them unplayable, and even in matches where your opponent has a good connection, the game feels noticeably more sluggish when you compare it to offline fights. Again, this is just my experience. Your online endeavors might be a hell of a lot better. But then again, the laggy internet isn't a huge deal. I mean, the lag in about 70% of online matches will be enough to ruin your game. Admittedly, when it comes to online play, I get my ass handed to me all the time. I must have a win ratio of about 10%. It's bad. But again, it always drives me to do better. And in a game where you always find yourself losing but still enjoy it regardless, there's a sign of a damn good game. So just those few annoyances hurt the game a little, but trust me, it's not enough to dampen the overall experience. It's a very solid fighter and probably the best we have right now for current gen. So, now to the score, and I'm gonna give Mortal Kombat X a 8 out of 10. It's mostly all the overpriced DLC and the microtransactions that prevent me from giving it a 9. I really take issue with it. That being said, if you are a Mortal Kombat fan, then this is a must-buy. Though it might be a good idea to wait for the inevitable collector's edition of this game if you aren't raring to play this as soon as possible. That way you'll have all this game's content available to you without you having to pay extra. I've seen a few people online who are saying they're going to do that. But whether you want to buy Mortal Kombat X now or later, I still highly recommend it. It's an undeniable blast and much deserving of a spot in any gamer's library. I do however hope that in the future, NetherRealm can learn from Namco Bandai and stop with all this DLC and microtransaction bullshit. Now to NetherRealm I say, it's not too late. All these DLC characters you got planned, why not release them to us for free? We already paid you full price for your game, so now give us the full game in return. Trust me, the gaming community would love you for it. But that game I hope's up really high. Well, weigh your stance on DLC in the fighting game genre and judge for yourself if this game is for you. I'll see you next time.